in person yesterday afternoon as we were waiting to hear the outcomes.
Well, hello and welcome to the stream.
Decide to do in terms of providing support for uninsured deposits, but we were ready all weekend to do what we needed to do, no matter what the outcome was in Washington. But we are grateful that it was what it was, and then we took actions accordingly.
Marla, I'm wondering if you could explain how Signature Bank got caught up in this, and in terms of their executives not knowing what was going on, is there going to be some sort of an investigation into, how this happened and when they knew that things were not looking good?
So the regulators, DFS, the federal regulators are always overseeing the banks, and we were in communication with Signature and other banks that we were watching all throughout the weekend. Communication was constant. The management has been removed, so part of the process of my taking over the bank and appointing the FDIC as receiver means the management, the board is removed instantly, and now the day-to-day operations are run by the FDIC. They will install new management, and then we will look for a new owner of the bank.
How did Signature get?
As we saw with SVB, it was.
All right, so that was the update there from New York officials. We want to continue on with breaking news here in just moments. We're going to go out to Los Angeles for a police pursuit there of a DUI suspect. As soon as we get the feed, we will bring it to you right here on Live Now from Fox.
So Signature, because of the amount of outflows we saw on Friday, we knew we were going to have to take action over the weekend so that they could open on Monday.
Here. Just wanting to comment on the situation happening at Madison Square Garden with the liquor license possibly being revoked. Just hoping you can comment on what you've been seeing there.
Certainly, but since there's litigation involved, I'll turn it over to our counsel. It's fine.
Thank you. That is a matter that's being handled by the State Liquor Authority. They are in charge of enforcing the alcohol and beverage control law, and it is a regulatory matter, and it's also the subject of litigation. So at this point, I don't think we're going to be able to comment on the matter.
All right, thanks, everybody.
That was the update there from New York Governor Kathy Hochul and other New York officials there. You're watching Live Now from Fox, everyone. We are going to slide away for a quick 2-minute break. Stay right here with us. More to come.
Welcome to the stream.
Welcome back, everyone, here to Live Now from Fox. We're remaining on the multiple police case there in California. They have since backed off there, so this is the traffic there in LA on this Monday. Just coming up 5 minutes to 7 right here on Live Now from Fox. collapse, everyone. Might look like this. Also, Air Force One was invited, looking to restrict to California, but before that, we will be speaking on the economy as well as things collapsing in the last couple of days and being taken over by the FDIC. So we'll be looking forward to that right here on Live Now from Fox. We also have some other events coming up here in just moments. We will have Philadelphia leaders demanding funding and planning for safety in school buildings and other live events to come up in just moments. But in the meantime, I want to go back out to Equal Pay Day. It's House Democrats rallying together for equal pay.
Taking home 64 cents on the dollar. Moms are making 62 cents, and Latina women are making 54 cents. That kind of ingrained, widespread injustice leaves everyone worse off. It means tighter family budgets. It means an economy and a country that can never reach its full potential. That's why Democrats have always fought for pay equity. Half a century ago, President Kennedy signed the Equal Pay Act. Decades later, President Obama signed the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. And now, Rosa DeLauro is leading the charge, and it's time to send the Paycheck Fairness Act to President Biden. And now we are going to yield to our leader. We're so proud to have him in this fight for equality with us, Hakeem Jeffries.
Well, thank you so much to our extraordinary wit, Catherine Clark. I'm so thankful for her leadership, and to Lois, and to Rose, and of course the Speaker Emerita, to all of these incredible and powerful women who are here today in support of the Paycheck Fairness Act, and to talk about the disparity in pay
Welcome to
that
the
has
stream.
existed in America for far too long. It is extraordinary to me that women in America are paid approximately 73 cents for every dollar that a man makes for doing the same exact job. That is unfair. That is unconscionable. That is unacceptable. That is un-American. And when we get the Paycheck Fairness Act over the finish line, we're going to make sure that it's unlawful and that that practice is brought to an end. Women have the same ability, the same capacity, the same intellect, the same work ethic, can produce at the same level, if not higher, than the men, but are paid much less. That is not anything that's happened here in America. And so we, as Democrats, are committed to continuing to put people over politics, to ensure that some of the young girls that you see here with us today, who are, of course, stealing the show, as they should, because as Speaker Emerita often says, we do this for the children, and today for our young girls, and for those who are out there in the workforce. And so we are once again going to make the Paycheck Fairness Act one of our top priorities as House Democrats, one of our top 10 bills that we will continue to work hard to push over the finish line. And we will draw the contrast with the other side of the aisle that claims to believe in opportunity. And if you claim to believe in opportunity, that means opportunity for every single person in America, regardless of gender, which is why we're going to stand behind the women and the girls in this great country. Lastly, let me now introduce someone who has done more than anyone else in America in the 21st century to show that women can do the job better than the men who have previously held it.
Charity, and Eleanor. It is about them. A while back, I had the privilege of being at Harvard, or Radcliffe really, where we celebrated President Kennedy's pronouncement about equal pay. At 60 years, as was indicated, with that 60 years since that bill was signed by President Kennedy. Okay. I think in the future, people will look back and say, what are you telling me? There was a time when women didn't have the right to vote. There was a time when women's work was not respected. This is awful. It was shameful. But we have to do something about it now. Now, Rosa DeMoro has been the godmother of so many things: child tax credit, child care, equal pay, equal work, family medical leave, you name it. Really, the budget that the president put forth yesterday, and aren't we proud of our president for putting forth a budget for family? But I'll just close with this, because Lois said, be very brief. I'll just close with this. It is great that our leadership is here making that commitment, and we're proud of them and proud of that commitment. But when President Obama became president, finally we had a president who would sign some of our priorities. The first bill he signed was Lilly Ledbetter. That we celebrated as a victory, but it did not address equal pay for equal work. It just enabled women to know how they were being discriminated against. A big, giant step forward. Rosa introduced equal pay for equal work. We passed it in the House. How many times have you heard us say, we passed it in the House on so many things, the Senate didn't even take it up. So our path has to be, we win the House, we win the Senate, we win the White House, and we win the Senate in a way that pulls back the filibuster so that we have a majority of the votes in order to make the difference for Americans voting for women as they provide for their families, for women in their retirement, what it means for their Social Security. Nobody knows that better than Rosa DeMoro, and I'm pleased to yield to her. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very, very much. I feel like it just is, we're raised up here. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. You really are what an outstanding effort and contribution to women and families in this country. Going back to the Women's Economic Security package that we put together, etc., all those years ago. And to you, Lois, God, thank you so much for organizing all of this and for really collecting all of us to do that. And it really is an honor to be here with our collective leadership, with members who have been fighting for this, and the advocates who have been fighting for this issue for so many years. And we are here today because women continue to experience challenges in the workforce. Over the course of the pandemic, millions of women were left out of the workforce. They left them. They didn't leave it because they wanted to. They were pushed out of the workforce because of inadequate policies. Many women have been able to get gain employment. They just decided to get serious. Women only know 8 months when they did in February of 2020. Compared to that, people, 429,000 more jobs now than they did in February of 2020. And when you get to the end of the workforce, they are paid less than that. As more and more Americans rely on women's income, we know that the pay gap hurts not only women, but also the families who depend on it. These young kids who are here today, and while we want them to take this role on as well, families are not able to do what they can do if the women are not being able to participate fully. Single women who are postponing marriage or foregoing it altogether are a growing economic force, which accounts for just been a larger share of growth of single women in the job market. There's a recent report on this. I want to say a thank you to Wendy Chumpoon, the 20th Director of the Women's Bureau of the Department of Labor. A special thank you to KJ Fisak, who will talk to her story and having the courage to stand up and speak out. All of the advocates who are here today, you have been just unbelievable partners in this fight. We introduced this bill that time, we have pushed and we have battled to strengthen the Equal Pay Act, make it illegal for employers to pay unequal wages to men and women who perform substantially equal work. Let me just tell you, I'm going to ask my colleagues here, male and female, imagine in this institution, if the women were paid less than the men in this institution. There would be a revolution. There would be a revolution, which is what we need in the country to go after this. You know, we were all thought, and gentlemen, don't be offended by this, we were the crazy ants in the attic when we started to talk about paycheck fairness. Men and women in the same job deserving the same pay. But we are on the cusp of really being able to get this done.
Hello everybody, since we are live now, that means we bring in a lot of live events throughout the day, but we're going to go out to another one just popping up in Connecticut here. This is as the governor and other state officials coming together to talk about the availability of maternal health care options in Connecticut.
Have another proposal that is also about making healthcare more affordable, but also expanding access to healthcare to women in our state. The COVID-19 pandemic really held up a mirror to our state and our country, highlighting disparities in healthcare outcomes that need to be addressed. This is particularly true for maternal and infant health outcomes. We started to see that pregnancy-associated deaths consistently increased from 2018 through 2020 among all races and age groups. Same thing was happening with infant mortality. And between 2015 and 2017, people of color made up 44%, almost 45% of those giving birth, but they accounted for 63% of pregnancy-related deaths. No person should have to just simply accept surviving their childbirth experiences, and we should not accept such a high maternal and infant mortality rate. And so what we put forward today is our administration's proposals to reduce maternal health disparities. And there are three areas that our bills focus on. One is licensing birthing centers. Two is certifying doulas, which assist in pregnancy and delivery, and also setting up universal home visiting for mothers and infants after birth. So our Senate Bill 986 does several things. It allows for the licensing of birthing centers, and you're going to hear more about why birthing centers are important.
All right, everyone, we'll check back into that later here. Do you want to go out right now to Atlanta here? As the second autopsy reveals that the top city protesters' hands were raised when killed, saying that they'll achieve full release of more information. Let's listen right here on My Mouth Box.
The police went to the forest that morning planning for violence. You can see it in the city of Atlanta videos. They formed firing squads, multiple officers with weapons drawn. It was a powder keg, and the moment there was a lapse in judgment on anyone's behalf, there would be death. That was what was guaranteed when they were clearing the forest of these peaceful protesters. To that point, no one had injured a law enforcement officer. No one had attacked a law enforcement officer. And yet they went to clear the forest of sit-in protesters at gunpoint. They did reconnaissance on the site. It was a planned operation. Yet no one had a body camera when they shot Manuel, or so we are told. We are asking for the immediate release of all information from the GBI rather than the selective release that we saw in the immediate aftermath of the shooting. The GBI had no problem putting its weight behind its narrative. And then, after its narrative was released, invoking the investigation. Doesn't make sense. I understand the need for integrity in an investigation. I understand not wanting witnesses to hear what other witnesses have said or to see all of the videos before they're asked questions. But once you release what the official narrative is, the investigation is tainted already. Now they have had plenty of time, and we have nothing. The larger context of this unprecedented crackdown is the domestic terrorism charges and the use of the state's force to quell dissent. This is an alarm. This is terrifying. People are sitting in the DeKalb County Jail right now who have no factual basis for the charges against them, at least none that have been articulated, simply because they were charged with domestic terrorism. None of the people in the jail right now have an allegation that they threw a Molotov cocktail, that they lit a construction equipment on fire, that they shot fireworks. None of the allegations we heard were specific to any person, and yet we have 21 people in the DeKalb County Jail denied bond. This is continuing. This is ongoing. This is intimidation by the state against dissent. But we are here today to focus on Manuel's case, Manuel's family. But that is the context in which this family is suffering. Watching the state use all of its power, watching local, state, federal, county, city government in lockstep. It is a terrifying alignment of power. And I hope that you all will ask these questions before this power spreads to other issues. Is this what Cop City is going to bring to our city? Is this the type of policing that they will be training for? We want them to know what happened to their child. With that, I will turn it over to my partner, Brian Spears, who will talk about the results of the autopsy, and then we'll hear from Wingo Smith. We'll talk about the open records lawsuit that we filed, and then the family will all make a brief statement. They will not be answering questions. If you have questions at the end, we'll be happy to field those to the extent we can.
Thank you, everyone. My name again is Brian Spears. Today, we continue to search for the facts surrounding the death of Manuel Paez-Terán. As we explained in our first press conference on February the 6th, the DeKalb County Medical Examiner's Office conducted the first autopsy. That's an autopsy which has not been released, and the family has had no access to it. On January the 31st, at the request of the family, forensic pathologist Dr. Chris Sperry conducted a second autopsy. Today, we released the whole autopsy report. Copies of it are being distributed now, and if we run out of the copies, we'll provide more. We are here today to talk about what we learned from that autopsy and demand the release of the investigation conducted by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. What did we learn from this autopsy? We learned that Manuel died from multiple gunshot wounds. We knew that already. Manuel was shot so many times and by different firearms that the tracks of the bullets running through the body converge and intersect. That means that the same parts of his body were shot by different officers. The autopsy identifies 14 separate gunshot injuries. Manuel was shot in the head through his right eye, in the left upper chest, in the abdomen, in his arms, and in their legs. The hands were all shot up. According to the autopsy, the wounds indicate that Manuel's left arm and hand were raised when Manuel was shot, with the palm facing the front of the body. Manuel's right forearm and right hand were also shot. The gunshot to the head would have killed them instantly, but probably, in the words of the report, not before they were able to raise their hands and arms in front of their body, like that. Manuel's legs were shot with shotgun slugs and probably buckshot, leading to the conclusion that 2 different shotguns were fired at Manuel before they died. The wounds to the legs are consistent with Manuel having been shot while they were sitting down cross-legged. Manuel was likely shot by individuals, according to the report, standing in front of them relatively close. Manuel was looking death in the face, hands raised when killed. Manuel was looking death in the face, hands raised when killed. We still do not know what happened in the forest on the morning of January 18th. We do not stand here today telling you that we know what happened. This second autopsy is a snapshot of what happened, but it is not the whole story. What we want is simple. GBI, meet with the family, and release the investigative report. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mingo Smith. 8 days after law enforcement officers shot Manuel, we began asking for records from different departments in Georgia about what happened that day. The Atlanta Police Department did the right thing when they promised to provide those records to the family, including recordings from the morning of January 18th, 2023. But the recordings are powerful. It is one thing to say law enforcement shot Manuel 13 times. It is another to hear it. Those recordings caught fire. And as you know, reporters and others began listening to the recordings, to the shots, and to what the officers said as it happened. And some of what those officers said was inconvenient for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. It raised questions about the only information the GBI had released to that point about the investigation. And the narrative the GBI was building that Jeff talked about earlier. When inconvenient information came to light, the GBI decided to interfere with the Atlanta Police Department. It wrote the APD a letter asking them to stop releasing videos and other material related to what happened that morning. Mind you, the GBI, as we've already discussed, had no problem releasing selected videos, even from the arrest last week on March 5th, within 24 hours of those arrests, and had no problem releasing other information about Manuel that they said conformed to the narrative that they were putting forth. Also, in addition to the GBI, the Attorney General's office sent a letter to the City of Atlanta advising it they didn't have to release the records to the family. It appears there has been a coordinated campaign to silence the City of Atlanta, and it worked. The APD then refused to release the rest of the recordings in its possession to the family or to the media. Manuel's family deserves answers. They need answers to what happened that day. And it's our job to try and get that information that is necessary to find those answers. So when the GBI intervened and the City of Atlanta stopped providing the records that they were promised to provide, we had no choice but to file a lawsuit to secure those records under the Georgia Open Records Act. Without truth, there can be no reconciliation. Without truth, there can be no justice. Without truth, this family can find no peace. We ask the APD to release the rest of the recordings in its possession. Thank you for your time this morning.
My name is Belkis Teran. My child, Manuel Esteban Paez Teran, was killed here in Atlanta on the 18th of January 2023. We still do not know anything. It was killed our most beloved family member and the most caring person that any group of people could have, and there is only silence. Manuel loved the forest, gave them peace. They meditate there. The forest connects them with God. I never thought that Manuel could die in a meditation position. My heart is destroyed. I invest so much time, care, and dedication to educate my children to become active members of a society. I gave them love and compassion as tools to make the world a better place. But now there is no answers. I try to be strong, to continue Manuel's legacy, for the love of my family and for all those love Manuel. I want answers for my child homicide. I'm asking for answers to my child homicide. I am suffering for my right to this answer, and that I have not been given, and I deserve answers. Thank you.
Some of you will be seeing a quick 2-minute break here on Live Now from Fox. Stay right here with us.
My name is Daniel Paez. Even amongst friends and family, the narrative the police have laid out is believed. My life has been frozen, with Manny being guilty until proven innocent. I would like to share how that has affected me. This is an example of messages I have been receiving. I quote, "I'm glad your son got killed firing a gun at cops. It was a cowardly act of his, and he got what he deserved. You scumbags, go back to the country you came from." It's been a burden I've mostly kept hidden from my family. I share it now because I need to know the truth. All of this is occurring while people are terrified of police escalation. I can't even attend a vigil for Manny without 10 cop cars showing up, or a low-flying helicopter showing up to intimidate us. In Atlanta, I feel hated. The current narrative is that my voice values less for being out of state, despite my 10 years of military service. It's ironic, I'm trusted with nuclear secrets, but I am not trusted with the evidence of my siblings' murder.
I'm going to start reading just one verse of the Bible. It's a promise from Jesus Christ. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. As father of Manuel Paez Terán, we have received 2 narratives from authorities about the assassination of my child. The first narrative we got less than 24 hours of his assassination. He was a violent individual that hurt an officer. That is the narrative expressed by the governor of Georgia, Atlanta mayor, and chief of police. Family has not been informed. The second narrative that came once Atlanta police revealed to the public footage of the body cameras. We also heard most hits by some of the all friendly fire. In other words, one still unknown officer was hit by one friendly fire shot, and my child was hit by 14 unfriendly, nasty, and violent shots. My child was an outstanding individual that gave his life for others. They gave his life for his ideals. They defend the environment. They convince others with conviction and also with understanding, and never with violence. My child is a hero. Manuel was lost in life. My child, now more than ever, is loved by thousands of communities, not only in Georgia, not only in all the United States of America, but also the world. Do not get surprised that people from different states of the Union, indigenous communities, and several countries of the world are coming to Atlanta to give their support for the first environmental activist assassinated in Atlanta, the state of Georgia, United States of America. This multitude of people that support us as a family and cry with us as one, they are not terrorists. Georgia Bureau of Investigation, GBI, stopped manipulating the information about my son's assassination. You keep us, the family, the community, and the world in total dark about what happened at the forest in January 18, 2023. I have a different narrative about my son. He is a hero. We demand information to our attorneys so we can proceed with the real and independent investigation. If anyone has any questions, we're happy to fill them. Yes. It's not something that we can answer at this point. That caliber of weapon, yes, but we don't know exactly what gun was used by each of these officers. This is the other one. Correct. Cobb County has not released a copy of the autopsy to the family. Well, I think the best way to answer that is that regardless of whether it was the first, it's one that we have to know the truth about. We aren't keeping score in terms of who was the first. That's not to align the question, but it's important because of who he was. It's important because of why it's important for all of us to be able to know the full story. We don't have those. And again, like I said before, we don't have all the answers. We're not pretending to have them. But we represent a family who has lost their son, and a family who is now seeking answers from the only sources that are available to us. Remember again, this man in the forest was alone when he was confronted by the array of officers. The officers who in turn are interviewed by the GBI give us an additional picture of what happened. We want that investigative information. We're familiar
familiar with responding to and being involved in police investigations. You know what it takes to do them. We also know what it takes to review them and have an opportunity to do that as well. So I hope that at least in part answers your question.
But it also speaks to what's going on in the city, right? We went through Standing Rock, far more contentious. Didn't happen. Why did it happen here? Why did it happen when they were just clearing the forest and people staging sit-in protests? What is going on? What are they willing to do to get this thing built? It's a display of force that, whatever happened that actually led to the moments of the shooting. Like I said, this was in Waterford. They were going out there, forming a firing squad, surrounding fence, shooting pepper balls into them to clear a peaceful protest there. And so, it's exactly what I said before. There are alarm bells going up. It's just the type of alignment that we're seeing is frightening. Show that one way or the other, because as the autopsy, you'll read it in the autopsy, but the body's typically washed after the first autopsy, and that's just not something that subsequently.
That's what it appears from the report. What we're conveying to you is the information that what was contained in the report, and the conclusion that was drawn from it. Again, the snapshot doesn't give us the whole story. It doesn't tell us what was happening a minute before, 10 seconds before the entry wounds occurred. We just know that that's how he was positioned at the time that certain wounds were inflicted on his body.
It's something that without the context of witness statements, law enforcement detailing how they were positioned, where the shooters were, and other information, without that, we can't offer full context.
Dr. Chris Berry conducted the autopsy. Dr. Chris Berry used to head up the Division of Forensic Sciences for the Georgia Grove investigation, otherwise known as the State Medical Examiner. He held that position for a number of years, now in private practice, and conducts autopsies throughout the country.
I think there's an ongoing problem in every government with the lack of transparency. I mean, that's nothing new. I'm not sure if your question specifically pertains to this. Absolutely. I mean, if we want to see a lack of transparency, review the arrest warrants for people who are charged with domestic terrorism. And what you find the factual basis for each individual charge. We don't charge people with, guilt by association is not a thing. So the lack of willingness to even detail a factual basis for destroying many people's lives who are denied bond and are sitting in the Cobb County Jail right now is the quintessential lack of transparency. If there's a basis for this, if there's a basis for domestic terrorism charges, if there is a wide-ranging conspiracy among activists to do actual violence, that is something the community needs to know about right away. And I hope that if that did exist, they would tell us that right away.